In my coaching calls this week, one of my students hit me with a question. Scott, what tools do you use to land high paying jobs fast? When I gave her my answer, she looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. You know that look like,
Hmm?
what? Yeah, that look like I was speaking some secret language that only I knew. Well, today, I'm letting you in on a masterclass secret. How to use Scrum and Atlassian JIRA to land your dream job, even as a Scrum Master. Yep, you heard it right. The same tools that you use at work to build amazing, legendary things with your Scrum teams. Yes, you can use them same tools to build the most valuable product of all time, which is what? Your career. Welcome to Scrum Academy. I am Scott Adams, your Scrum and Money Advancement Coach, and today I'm breaking down a proven roadmap to help you land high-paying jobs, remote jobs, using nothing but Scrum and JIRA. But before I get there, here's a snippet of what we covered thus far in the masterclass. Sprint 1, you conducted a gap analysis and identified the skills that you have versus the skills that you don't have and need. You also identified your financial goals. Sprint 2, now we building the strategic plan, your step-by-step roadmap for your career success. What's next? Well, I'm taking you inside of my personal JIRA that I created in December 2017, where I laid out a 6-month plan to land a remote Scrum Master job coming from full-time direct hire. Here's what I'm going to show you today. How to create a product goal for your career, how to define key tactics and actions that will get you hired super fast, why just applying for jobs isn't enough, you need a structured plan. Why don't you Scrum your life for maximum efficiency and effectiveness? Let's get it. Welcome back. This is a very beautiful product. This is Atlassian's JIRA software, the number one software that as Scrum Master you will use in most environments. There's another software out there called Rally. I've never been in an environment where I've actually used that, but every Scrum environment I've ever been in use Atlassian JIRA. Okay. There's other Agile software tools out there, but this is the most popular and the most used. Now, JIRA, JIRA, this is made by Atlassian. This is a company out of Australia. If you click on the hamburger, you will see that they have a lot of things inside of here. Typically, Confluence is where we hold our documentation, including your sprint retrospectives if you choose to use this for that. You have Trello, which is a communication tool. A lot of companies use Slack, Microsoft Teams, something like that. But you do have all these tools in here for your Scrum team to be able to communicate and make things transparent as you see fit. This tool, for the most part, does everything you will need it to do. This is my personal JIRA. Back in 2017, when I was coming up with my exit strategy of my current job, because I was a project manager / Scrum Master, full-time direct hire, and I wanted to get into remote work and I wanted to get into remote contract work because I knew it was a significant difference in pay between full-time direct hire and contract work. So this is me coming up with my strategy to make that happen. It is December 2017, and these are some of the things that I was thinking about. I didn't write all this down in December. It was high level, but just like in Scrum, we have backlog refinement, we have sprint planning, and as I learn new things, I add to my product backlog. But when I started out, I had 4 or 5 of these epics, as you see. Now, if you're not familiar with this terminology, Google it. So how do I know it's an epic? And well, if you click on this, it will show you that it is an epic. We'll cover some other things as we go through this. So that is some context why I created this. Okay, it's December 2017. I'm in a job that I can't stand. I'm doing work that I can't stand, and I'm ready for a change. So I realize I got to rebrand myself. So these are the things that I'm thinking about. So the first thing I decided in December was I am going to be working as a pure Scrum Master in June of 2018. Now, from December 2017, that is exactly 6 months. I gave myself exactly 6 months to get out of this position. So my product goal is to get a Scrum Master position in 6 months. Why? Because at that particular point in time, I was making less than $100,000 and the market was like $125,000, $130,000 just for being a Scrum Master alone and not a combination role of project manager / Scrum Master. So this is me strategically thinking of how to give myself a raise, double my income just by doing one position. Wow. So that was my thinking. So let's dive into it and see how it panned out. So as I click on this epic, these are some things initially as I click on this epic, these are some of the things I felt like I needed to do. Now, as you see in JIRA, the green means it's a story. Remember, we taking things into a sprint and Scrum. At sprint planning, we take in stories if we use JIRA terminology. Now, the Scrum guide doesn't say anything about story. It will say product backlog item. So just make sure you understand the differences there in terms of terminology. Scrum guide doesn't talk about epics and stories. That comes from Atlassian JIRA or from Agile terminology. Okay? And the first thing I wanted to do was write down my goal and congratulate myself. I wanted to practice visualization and see myself getting the job before I actually got it. So I'm thinking about all of that in December. What is it going to look like to be in a job that I actually like, to do something I really, really love, to provide servant leadership for a team, to get them to where they want to be? Wow, that would be amazing. I'm tired of telling people as a project manager what to do, how to do, when to do. I'm dealing with professionals. I am dealing with experts. I mean, it would be super duper cool if I can be around a bunch of people who they know what to do. And you can just, if they have a blocker, I can help them get past that blocker by using my teaching, coaching, facilitating, mentoring hat. Wow, that sounds super duper nice to me. That sounds like a dream job to me. So I wrote down my why, which I just gave you. I took a moment and visualized, how am I going to celebrate? Oftentimes we as human beings are so busy doing wild stuff that we don't take time to celebrate. You got key milestones in your strategic plan. Use those milestones not only to accomplish something, but use those milestones to also celebrate your incremental win. Okay. At that particular point in time, I wasn't certified in Scrum at all. I had my PMP, but I knew I needed some type of Scrum certification. Every job description that I looked at was looking for at least the CSM, which is the Certified Scrum Master certification. Back then, when I came into play, I didn't see anything about the PSM, which is the Professional Scrum Master class. I knew I had to pass the exam and become certified. Now, here's a note for you. I put this in for the class, not myself. If you are not 100% disciplined, get an accountability partner. There, we have that for you here at Scrum Academy. Those are some things I began to think about. Now, what else do we need to think about that you already do? Well, I need to update my curriculum vitae, update my LinkedIn profile. That's all part of my product backlog. Remember, my strategy, my product goal is to get a Scrum Master position in 6 months. And these are all the strategy and tactical things I need to do to achieve that goal. Research some Scrum Master resume templates online. Yeah, I did that too. I'm sure you did it. You'd be like crazy not to, because ChatGPT is not a thing at this particular point in time, not in 2017. So what were you going to do? Go on Google, see if you can find some Scrum Master templates and use that as your guide to craft yours. Research some Scrum Master LinkedIn profiles so I can look at the language they're using to get ideas to rebrand and modify my own, coming from project management purely. I needed to update my resume using keywords. Remember, if I don't get past the keywords, I don't get past the bots, and I won't get in touch with any human being. So, I got to think about that. Update my LinkedIn profile, ask for a recommendation. Another epic I have is to read and practice Scrum Master interview questions and answers. In 2017, when I came into the industry, there wasn't one document that had all the Scrum Master questions and answers. I got that for you in the masterclass. I'll be putting that in the discussion board for you this week, so don't worry about that. All the questions out there now, you just need to study those questions and master them. But in 2017, I had to figure the questions out, and I wrote them down. As I went to an interview, I listened to the questions. If they gave me a question that I've never heard of before, I wrote down that question. Every interview I had, if I heard a question that I've never heard before, I wrote it down. I kept building my question backlog. I kept building it. I kept building it over years and years and years and years and years. And now I'm going to give you that in the masterclass and discussion board as well. So review your Scrum questions and answers. I look for some videos. I look for some podcasts. Scrum Academy, we have a podcast. We also got Not Scrum Done podcast. I listened to all that as well, too, when I was coming through the ranks. Review your interview feedback. Anytime you have an interview, here's what I do. Immediately after the interview, I would have a sprint interview retrospective. Because in some interviews, sometimes I get tricked up. I tripped up on some questions. I didn't really have a good story to articulate my skill set. I wasn't short, sweet, and concise. So after that, you know when you bomb a question. So at the sprint retrospective, I am reflecting back on that moment and trying to figure out what was it about that question that took me for a loop. And I'm writing down how I would respond if I got that question again in the future. Are y'all seeing how I'm using Scrum to inspect and adapt to prepare me for the next interview? Remember I said, if you've been dealing with me long enough, you know that the fastest way to mastery is through feedback, right? So I'm using the interview to give myself feedback to make myself better for the next interview. And I always in the interview ask the question of, hey, is there something about my skill set that's lacking? And let them tell me what it is lacking so I can also use that as a continuous improvement item. Woo! Are you seeing how I'm using Scrum to get a job as a Scrum Master? Create your own Scrum guide. Now, part of the professional Scrum Master journey, nobody told us to do this. I wrote the Scrum guide in my own words. I mean, for me, I can read something sometimes. Sometimes I go to a lecture. I just can't get the learning in which they convey. Not until I write it down. Everybody has their own different learning style. To me, if I really want to get something in my long-term memory, I cannot just read it. I cannot just hear it. I'm going to have to write it as well. Okay, read and practice Scrum interview questions, all that you're going to be doing here in this masterclass. Read 25 Scrum/Agile books plus listen to podcasts. Okay, I want to read the Scrum Guide each and every day. I want to read recommended books from all the classes that I went to, the CSM, the PSM, whatever class you go to. They always give you a plethora of resources that you can have post-class. Use Scrum.org comprehensive site for blogs, videos, and paths. I've come to learn that the Scrum.org website, to me, is likened to the Google of Scrum. If there are questions you have about anything that you're going through with your Scrum team or situation, if you just go to Scrum.org, I know for sure, there could be other sites out there, but Scrum.org for sure. You can go into Scrum.org and in the search bar, type in your scenario, and I promise you, somebody has written about it or created a video about that particular situation that you're going through. I like to say it like this in my class. All the problems you're going to see on the Scrum team are already been identified. You just have to figure out how you're going to approach solving that problem. But you ain't going to find nothing new up on the sun. It's all documented at this point. Identify and apply Scrum in my personal life. Now, I was coming from a hybrid environment. Remember project management and Scrum. Okay, I didn't want to be Scrum down. So I'm reading the Scrum Guide every day. I'm listening to it every day. I'm writing something, reading something about Scrum and Agile every day, starting 2018 on January the 1. Okay. Well, since I don't really have any pure Scrum experience, so I thought to myself, well, Scott, why don't you figure out a way to use Scrum in your personal life? That way, you would really know how to do this thing because you know what you're doing at this organization you're working with right now as a project manager / Scrum Master. You know that's not Scrum as identified in the Scrum Guide. Yes, Scott, I do know that. Well, Scott, who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to Isaac, Scott, and Adams. It's just me, myself, and I. And God is also in the equation as well. But I got tired of talking to God. I talked to Isaac. I talked to Adams because I can hear their voice. So I want to use Scrum to get a job as a Scrum Master. This is what I'm already doing. I want to use Scrum to track my personal development. Remember, I said I want to read at least 25 Scrum and Agile books. That's where I started. Then I got up to a point where I want to read 100 books per year. I modified that in 2018 after I wrote down these initial goals. That I want to use Scrum to trade stocks in the stock market. Okay, those are the three things I figured I was going to use Scrum on to get practice being a Scrum Master before I was ever fully one. Okay, putting in the reps. Exactly. Well, okay, the other thing I figured out in terms of epic that I'm going to need to do in terms of my strategy of getting a job, rebranding myself, and getting the hell out of this job that I can't stand. I figured I would start out applying for 100 jobs per month. So there's basically 4 weeks in a month. So that works out to be approximately 25 jobs per week. I'm thinking of the law of large numbers. If you're not getting the interviews, it pretty much means you're not putting enough applications out there. Think of it in simplistic forms. If you ever had a birthday, which I know you've had, if you're having a gathering at your house, be it a birthday party or a cookout in the summertime, if you invite 20 people, 15 will say they're going to come, and somewhere between 7 and 10 will actually show up. Are y'all tracking? So you could take that knowledge and apply it to your applying for jobs. If you're applying for 25 jobs per week, the next big step is actually having an interview. So I figured if I apply to 25 jobs per week, that would give me 1 or 2 interviews per week. I'm building up a pipeline. Exactly. Okay. Hopefully that helps you out. But notice something. Remember, I'm running 1-week sprints, correct? I'm using Scrum, and I'm also using Atlassian JIRA to track my progress. And I'm also still doing sprint planning, daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. My sprint started on Sunday and ended on Saturday. So as you can imagine, after about 30 days of tracking, being consistent at 25 jobs per week, and I'm not getting the interviews that I would like to have, for example, 1 or 2 interviews. That was my sprint goal. My sprint goal this week is to have 1 or 2 interviews. Okay, I need to get out 25 applications this week to try to make that happen. Okay, fantastic. Okay. Then I bumped it up to 10 interviews per month. Okay, I got specific with it. I want to interview with 2 companies this week. The next week, I want to interview with 4 recruiters this week. I want to interview with 2 companies this week. I want to interview with 2 recruiters this week. These are the things I wrote down in terms I wanted. But of course, I couldn't validate these things until I actually got into the process. Was that realistic? In hindsight, no, because my sample size wasn't big enough. I was only putting out 100 applications per month. 25 per week. So was that realistic? 10 interviews per month? No. So, okay, then Scott, what did you do? Well, after the first month, I've had several sprint retrospectives up until that point in time. So I figured, okay, cool. I need to double my applications. Okay, instead of applying for 100 jobs per month, I need to apply for 200 jobs per month to increase my sample size, to try to get at least 10 interviews per month. That still was my goal, even though I quickly realized that was unrealistic. 1 or 2, 3 would have been better. Okay. So then I got really, really ambitious because now it's in March or April. And I said, okay, cool. I'm going to hit my goal by June. So what did I do? I increased my sample size again. I went to 400 jobs per month, so that I can get 20 interviews. That was my goal. That was my plan. Did it work out that way? Well, I applied for an awful lot of jobs, yes. 20 interviews per month? No. I think the most I ever got was like 15 in a month's time. Okay? And then also, as you can see here, when I wrote this out, I visualized in the beginning, what is it going to look like? What is it going to feel like? What is it going to smell like when I get this job and I'm actually working in this thing? I saw myself working as a Scrum Master well before I actually did it. Okay. It's called visualization. Celebrate your new job, because I've accomplished a lot of wild, wild stuff in my life. And as I mentioned to you, lessons learned is that we as humans, we do so much amazing stuff that it's like, Okay, I just went out and broke the record in this. I just went out and broke the record in this. No biggie. But now take time to celebrate yourself because I want a holistic life. I saw that I was a very busy person, and I come to realize that busy does not equate to effectiveness. Okay. I used to wear busyness as a badge of honor, but busyness is a sickness. Okay. What's the first thing you're going to do, Scott, when you get the job offer? Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Thank God. Thank Jesus. Thank Isaac. Thank Scott. Thank Adams and all the people who helped along the way. Hey, let's go get dinner. Let's go get lunch. Whatever that may be. It's going to be like a birthday celebration. That's how I envisioned it in my mind, and that's how it happened. Okay. So this was my strategy. Strategy, it would be the epics. Those are the major things I think I need to do to get to my ultimate goal. And if you think of stories as the practical stuff that you need to do, the day-to-day stuff that you need to do, okay? Now, let me give you another view of this so that you can see this play out, okay? That's the timeline. That just lets you see everything in a holistic format. Now, let's go to the backlog. So years ago, unfortunately, when I first got this, I paid $19.95 to get this originally. Now it is free. Now, after about paying for JIRA personally for about 2 to 3 years, so about 2019, I let it go. I canceled my subscription, $19.95. And then now, JIRA and all the things I'm showing you right now is free. I highly recommend you go. If you want to pause it right now, go to Atlassian JIRA. And if you do not have your personal account, go ahead and get it because it is actually free. I didn't think I would be teaching on this stuff. But in teaching Scrum and teaching Agile at Wilmington University, I got access to a ton of free software. So I went ahead and got Atlassian JIRA, and I began to use this in my college classes just as a way to show students how they can use this in their personal life. Then shortly after that, it became free for everybody. In other words, you didn't have to pay the $19.95. Now, when that happened, I talked to JIRA and say, hey, look, I had an account with you many, many years ago. So it's about 2 years since it lapsed. Can I get that old account back? They said no. So I had to go back and recreate this. I had it written down on paper, so I went back into JIRA really just to recreate this for you. But this is not the original. Very close. This is all the sticky notes and the paper I had before I put it in JIRA. But this is what I did just to simulate for you. Unfortunately, I lost the actual one because they could not retrieve it back, sadly enough. But okay, since this is now for demonstration purposes, okay, let's say you get ready to start your sprint now. You've already got your goal. You know what your product goal is. You've got some things in your product backlog. So if you know the Scrum Guide says all you need to get started with Scrum is a product owner, a Scrum Master, some developers to do the work, and what? A product backlog. That's all you need to get started with Scrum. Do I have that? Yes. But Scott, you just one person. Well, that's me, myself, and I. Scrum does not say that that person cannot be the same person. It just says you have to have one product owner, one Scrum Master, and developers. So, Scott, what did you do? Now, I wasn't able to simulate a whole team experience, but I got that through other arenas, like my job, being a project manager. So, if you don't have that exposure, what you're going to have to think about, I'm thinking about the new Scrum Master who you haven't gotten your job yet, but you're using JIRA to practice. You're using Scrum in your personal life to practice. The other thing you need to simulate is, okay, how are you going to get that working with teams experience? I'm thinking about my ignorance in terms of families doing homeschool. When I didn't understand homeschool at first, I'm like, wow, them kids are so lonely. All they do is sit in a room and study all day. But the parents and students who are homeschooled, they have to think about other things in terms of getting in that interaction. So thinking along those lines, you're going to have to think of ways, if it's just you, yourself, and I, if you've never been on any team before, think about some team where you can get some team experience. Maybe volunteer to local charity, volunteer to church. Someplace would love to have you volunteer to work on a team and get that experience. So that's a way that you can get that experience as well. So now that you're ready for sprint one, so let's say I got all this stuff done and now it is Sunday. Okay, Scott, what are you going to do? Well, my sprint goal is to what? Update my resume, social media. My why? Register for a Scrum Master class, because every job description is asking for a certification. So you're definitely going to have some type of Scrum Master certification. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot before you even get started. Write down your why. Take a moment and visualize. So that could be sprint one. Okay, since I'm running a 1 week sprint that starts on Sunday and ends on Saturday, you see, this is the exact same thing you're going to be doing on the Scrum team. So when you start the sprint, now you're going to see all type of metrics. It's going to track your metrics. You have daily Scrum to track your progress every day. Then at the end of the sprint, you hit end sprint. It's going to go straight to Confluence, which is where we keep our documentation and where you could actually host your retrospective. See, you get everything you need in terms of getting the reps in terms of being an actual Scrum Master in the real world. But I would submit to you, being a Scrum Master for your personal life and of your family is more important than on your job, because you will become a better person. I know tons of Scrum Masters out there that never have had a title of a Scrum Master working for an organization, but they found a way to use Scrum in their circumstance and in their situation, including their personal life. So you can begin to forecast your sprints, okay? Just like we do in the real world. If I'm on a Scrum team that they want to forecast the future out a little bit more, I typically don't go beyond 2-3 sprints worth of forecast work. You want to have product backlog items already ready. Well, where do you do that at? Well, you do that at product backlog refinement, correct? Exactly. See, this helps you. So I got plenty of backlog worth of relevant stuff. I have backlog refinement to make sure that, is this still relevant? Do I still need to do mock interviews, or is there some other way I can get that information? You see, I'm always looking at this just like we do on the Scrum team. So if you could imagine, when I went on that Scrum team, I was just building reps when I finally got to a pure Scrum team. This is how I use that. So hopefully this was super duper helpful for you in regards of how I use JIRA to track my work. You can use this for anything. You can use this for your book backlog, all your reading you're going to do in a year's time. I even had that in my original JIRA account too, but I got into audiobooks years later, and Amazon tracks that for you in terms of the stuff that you've read and books that you have in your backlog to read. So it's all there. So I don't need to have that in JIRA anymore. But again, for you, the Scrum Master is really just starting out. If you want to take your game up to the next level, learn this platform as well as learn Scrum. It's just like anything in terms of software. The best way to learn anything is to actually use it, to actually do it, get your hands on it, get skin in the game. Okay. So you can make all the mistakes you want here, so that when you get to the real world, getting on an enterprise JIRA board, it's going to look and feel the exact same way. The only difference is, instead of it having JIRA here, it's going to have the organization name here. But you would maybe have some other fields like release fields for product delivery, things of that nature. But for the most part, what you see here is the basic format that you're going to see on anyone, whether it's a personal use or enterprise use. Maybe this is your career, but maybe you don't want to be a Scrum Master. Maybe you're that type of technical person that you just love this here platform so much you know everything about it. Okay, that's another job position for you. They call those JIRA administrators. Every organization have those type of persons. I mean, that person who has spent the time to learn everything about everything here, that go-to person that when I, as a Scrum Master, have a problem that I haven't spent that kind of time to know it on that level, I go to the JIRA admin and say, look, I'm trying to do this, but I need some help. That could be you, depending upon how much time you want to spend in this thing. I had no need to know it on that level, because my theory and my experiences is I am low tech, high touch is the recipe for my legendary success. Just like in the movie Nanny McPhee. Okay. I use these tools at a bare minimum, just to check the pulse of the team. This guides me at a very small part of my building a legendary team strategy. Okay. This is helpful, but a small percentage of what I use. Hopefully this was super duper helpful for you. Again, want to take the time. I've been wanting to do a video like this, but certainly since I got students in my masterclass now, I want to make sure I give you all the information you need so that you can be super duper legendary for yourself, for your family, for your community, and for your Scrum teams you work with. Well, there you have it. Have you ever thought about using JIRA in this way before? I have a lot of students that use many different tools. I would love to know what tools you use to track whatever it is you're trying to track in life. Please leave a comment down below. Let us know what tool you're using and how are you using it. Now, some of my students use Excel, like here. Remember this one? Yeah, very robust, right? Accomplishes the same thing, but I want to use JIRA, one, so that I can practice the tool that I know I'm going to be using as a Scrum Master, and two, it gives me the ability to track my work as well. So I got 2 for 1. Well, there you have it. Your recession-proof, termination-proof, layoff-proof, fire-proof roadmap to career success. Now it's your turn. Step number 1, define your product goal. Where is it you want to go? Step number 2, identify your tactics. What are the exact actions needed for you to get to your ultimate destination? Step number 3, use Scrum principles and JIRA to track your progress. And of course, iterate. Learn from your previous sprint, just like you're using the Scrum framework anyway. Want a full breakdown and my personal coaching? Sprint 2 of the Serial Scrum Masterclass is already in process. Sprint number 2 of the Serial Scrum Masterclass is going to end on this Sunday. We still have a few more seats available if you're interested. Don't worry, you won't miss a thing. Everything is recorded. You go at your own pace so that you don't miss a thing. Register now. Drop a comment below. I want you to answer this question today. What is your number 1 job search challenge right now? Leave a comment below and we'll strategize on how to remove that impediment. Like this video if you're serious about landing your dream job. Subscribe for more agile career strategies. Hit that doggone notification bell so that you won't miss what's next. Let's make this your year for super duper transformation in your career. I see you inside the Serial Scrum Masterclass. As always, be agile, do Scrum, and be super duper legendary. I see you in the next video.